Many of us have already watched Jackie Chan's Karate Kid movie. Today I'm here with the story of its second part, Karate Kid Legends. This story is going to be amazing, so let's not waste any more time and dive right into it. The story begins in a small village called Okinawa in Japan, back in 1986. We see an elderly man practicing martial arts in a tiny house. Just then, a young man named Daniel comes to visit him. The master warmly welcomes him. As Daniel looks around, he notices some old portraits of martial arts masters hanging on the walls. He asks, "Master, who are these people?" The master replies, "They are my ancestors, the Miyagi clan, the ones who first brought karate to our Okinawa village." He continues, "Our family's first known ancestor, Master Shimpu, once went fishing and got caught in a storm. His boat drifted all the way to a port in China, where people of the Han Empire took him in. He spent many years there, learning Chinese kung fu. Later, when he returned to Okinawa, he combined Japanese Miyagi-style techniques with Han-style kung fu to create a deadly form of martial arts, a beautiful fusion of two ancient cultures, like two branches of the same tree. With that backstory complete, we're taken to present-day Beijing, China, to a kung fu school. The master of the school is none other than Jackie Chan, known here as Mr. Han. He's teaching his students with great care and dedication. Among all the students, one boy stands out. His name is Lee. He practices differently, with intense focus and emotion. Anyway, at one point, a little girl at the school runs up to Mr. Han and says, "Master, the doctor is here." A boy rushes to inform Lee, "Hey, the doctor's here, be ready." Soon the doctor approaches Mr. Han and says, "Where's my son, Master Han?" Mr. Han calmly invites him to sit down and have tea while they talk. But the doctor says, "Look, Master Han, I respect you a lot, but I'm here to take my son home. I already lost one son listening to you. I can't afford to lose Lee too." Master Han tries to reason with him. "I understand how you feel, but quitting Kung Fu isn't the answer. Kung Fu can shape Lee's life in a better way. Every time I was in trouble, it was Kung Fu that saved me." Lee overhears all this from the next room. The doctor continues, "I just got a new job at a big hospital in New York. Life has given us a second chance, a shot at something better. Please, just send my son home." Saying that, the doctor leaves. So Master Han has no choice but to let Lee go. Lee runs to his mother and says, "You want to move to America? You never even told me. I don't want to go. My childhood, my friends, they're all here. What will I even do over there?" The doctor replies, "There's plenty to do in New York. At least you won't have to fight anymore." Lee says, "But I'm not fighting. I'm just practicing." The doctor reminds him, "If you train for war, war is what you'll get. That's why you're coming with me?" Poor Lee is heartbroken. In the next scene, we see Lee and his mom arriving in New York. After a long journey, they finally reach their new home. It's a small house, but Lee kinda likes it. He spends the whole day indoors. That evening, while looking at a photo of him and his brother, he starts to feel a bit hungry. So, he tells his mom he's heading out to a nearby pizza shop. After walking through the alleys of New York, Lee reaches the pizza place. He asks the shop owner for a stuffed crust pizza, but the owner says, "Sorry kid, we don't have that here. If you really want it, you'll have to go to a store far from here." Lee is disappointed. Just then, a girl around Lee's age walks in. Turns out, she's the shop owner's daughter, Mia. She helps her dad run the place. Mia explains, "We don't have stuffed crust pizza, but we do have lots of other options. You can pick something else from our menu." Lee ends up ordering a pepperoni pizza and gets directions to a nearby grocery store from Mia. Then he leaves to pick up some essentials. The next morning, Lee heads out to attend his new school. His mom gives him all the directions on how to get there. It's also her first day at the hospital. They both leave the house together. Lee takes the subway to his new school. On his first day, the teacher welcomes him and explains all the school rules. She tells him, "Make sure you study hard. Your mom wants you to pass with top grades." After chatting with the teacher, Lee attends a few classes. Overall, his first day at school goes pretty well. Later, on his way back home, he spots Mia carrying a bunch of items from a truck, heading somewhere. Lee doesn't waste a second. He rushes over to Mia and starts helping her carry the stuff while chatting. It's clear he wants to become friends with her, and Mia picks up on it. So, the two of them walk back together, carrying restaurant supplies and talking along the way. On the way, Lee spots a gym where fighters are being trained in martial arts. He stops and stares, completely drawn in. Mia notices and asks, "Wait, do you know martial arts?" Lee replies, "Yeah, I used to learn Kung Fu when I lived in China." Before they can finish the conversation, a guy walks up and says to Mia, "Tell your dad to call me." Mia says, "I'm not your personal errand boy. If you need something, deal with him directly." Saying that, he turns and starts to walk away with a cold glance at Lee. Lee asks, "Who was that? Why does he want to talk to your dad?" Mia says, "His name's James. He owns that gym. My dad borrowed some money from him. That's why he wants to talk." She then warns Lee, "Look, you should stay away from that gym. A lot of rough guys hang out there and fight for no reason." Meanwhile, inside the gym, James goes up to a guy named Connor and says, "Hey, saw your girlfriend today. She was walking around with some Chinese dude. Looks like your relationship's not going too far." Connor hears that and completely loses it. He brutally beats up the guy he was sparring with in practice, filled with rage. Back to Lee and Mia, they arrive at a mechanic's shop. The mechanic is a Chinese woman who tells them the fixing Mia's cutter machine will cost $600. That's way too much for Mia, so she hesitates and decides to leave. But Lee steps in and speaks to the woman in Mandarin. He politely asks if she could give them a discount. Surprised and pleased, the woman agrees to lower the price by $150. Now, just $450. Mia is overjoyed. As they head home, Lee makes a little deal with Mia. He says, "If you show me around New York, I'll teach you some Mandarin. It might help you get discounts from people like her." Mia laughs and agrees. She promises to give him a full tour of New York on Sunday. That night, back home, Lee is having dinner with his mom. She asks him how school went, and if he made any new friends. Lee says, "Yeah, I made a friend. Her name's Mia." His mom blushes a little hearing that. On Sunday morning, Mia shows up at Lee's house on her scooter, ready to give him the tour she promised. Lee hops on the back, and they start exploring New York City together. They have an amazing time. But after a while, Mia's scooter breaks down. They're forced to carry it onto a subway train and head home that way. Inside the subway, they're laughing and chatting, when suddenly Connor shows up with his gang. Mia immediately gets nervous. She says, "Connor, we're tired. We're just trying to get home. Please don't start anything." Connor sneers, "Oh, so now you're blocking my path. For this guy?" Mia tries to calm him. "It's not like that. Just let us go." Connor refuses to move, so Lee steps forward and says, "Get out of the way." Connor steps aside for Mia, but as Lee tries to pass, Connor punches him in the face, injuring him badly. Poor Lee and Mia slowly make their way home. Mia apologizes and notices Lee's eye is badly swollen. She explains, "Connor really likes me, but I don't feel the same. Plus, my dad told me to stay away from him. All he does is train at the gym and win the 5 Boroughs tournament every year." Lee asks, "What's the 5 Boroughs?" Mia explains, "It's a street fighting tournament that happens in the city every year. Connor's been the champion for the last 3 years. The winners make a lot of money." Then she warns him, "But don't even think about entering. You'll never be able to beat Connor." As they keep walking and talking, Mia takes Lee to her dad, Victor. Seeing Lee's black eye, Victor starts applying makeup over it. Turns out, Victor's late wife used to work in makeup, so he knows a few tricks. Lee learns that Victor used to be one of the best fighters in the city, but now he's given it all up. Victor covers the bruised part with makeup and hands Lee a few tea bags. He says, "Put these on your eyes before bed. You'll be fine." The next morning, Lee's mom sees the bruise. She's shocked and panicked. "I told you not to get into any fights," she yells. "Then how did this happen?" Lee tries to calm her down and explains things in a way to make her feel better before heading off to school. Later that day, his mom introduces him to a boy named Alan. Alan will be Lee's tutor. He'll help Lee stay on top of his studies. That day, Lee chats with Alan and they become good friends too. Later that night, when Lee returns home, he's tidying up the room when he suddenly finds several photos of his older brother. Seeing them brings back memories. He used to practice kung fu with his big brother. His brother could even do a special fighting move that Lee never managed to learn. Anyway, the next day after school, as Lee is heading home, Connor shows up behind him and starts bothering him again and again. Lee finally loses his temper and punches Connor, which is exactly what Connor was hoping for. He calmly puts his hands in his pockets and says, "All right then, if you really want to fight me, I'll beat you without even using my hands." Hearing that, Lee charges at him and starts fighting, but Connor is way more experienced. Using only his legs, he easily knocks Lee to the ground. Humiliated, Lee suddenly remembers his older brother, who once tried to teach him that special move called the dragon kick. Determined to get back at Connor, Lee throws the dragon kick at him, but Connor counters with a kick of his own and knocks Lee down again. Just then, teachers arrive and break up the fight. Connor yells out, "If you really want to fight me, then meet me at the 5 boroughs. Let's see who saves you then." Hearing that, Lee gets really upset and walks home with a heavy heart. On the way, he sees posters of Connor all over the city. Later that evening, while standing on his apartment balcony, Lee spots Mia's broken down scooter on the street. He goes down to fix it, but right then, a group of guys show up with sticks and pipes. Victor rushes out of the house and says, "Guys, whatever issues you have with me, let's sit down and talk it out. Just let the kid go." Before the conversation can go any further, one of the thugs comes from behind and hits Victor on the head, knocking him out. Lee can't stand still any longer. He jumps into action and starts fighting the goons. One by one, he takes them all down and injures them. By then, Victor regains consciousness and is shocked to see Lee fighting so smoothly and fearlessly. Once the thugs flee, Victor and Lee sit down inside the restaurant. Victor asks, "How did you learn to fight like that?" Lee replies, "I learned Kung Fu when I lived in China." Victor then requests, "Please, teach me Kung Fu too. Those guys, I owe them a lot of money. They won't leave me alone until I pay them back. But if you teach me, I can earn some money fighting in underground matches." Lee discovers that Victor was once the best fighter in the city, so he asks, "Why'd you quit fighting?" Victor explains, "After Mia was born, I wanted a normal life. Then my wife died, and I gave up everything, fighting, tournaments, and opened this pizza shop. But if you teach me Kung Fu, it would really help me." Lee hesitates. "I'm sorry, Victor. I made a promise never to fight again. There's a tragedy in my life that changed me forever." Victor assures him, "You don't have to fight. I will. All I need is your help." Lee looks confused. Later that evening, his mom takes him to a lantern festival. There, Lee lights a sky lantern and releases it, wishing peace for his brother's soul. Back home, he calls his old master, Han. Lee explains, "After coming to New York, I made a friend. He wants me to teach him Kung Fu. Do you think I should do it?" Master Han asks, "Will teaching him Kung Fu help him in any way?" Lee says, "Yes, it will." The master replies, "Then you must teach him. If our culture can help someone in need, it's the greatest honor." Hearing that, Lee immediately goes to meet Victor and says, "Yes, I'll teach you Kung Fu." Victor is thrilled. He asks, "When do we start training?" Lee answers, "Right now." So that very night, Victor closes the shop before 8 p.m., and the two begin training. Lee tells him, "Kung Fu is in everything. It's in the way you make pizza. It's in how you box. All of it is part of Kung Fu." Then he challenges Victor, "Now, attack me. Let's see what you've got." Victor hesitates at first, not wanting to hurt Lee since he sees him as just a kid. But soon enough, Lee proves that even though he's younger, he's a far better fighter than Victor ever expected. Right then, Mia walks in and is shocked to see her dad sparring. She asks, "Why are you doing this, Dad? You can't fight anymore. You gave all this up years ago." Victor replies, "If Lee trains me, I can fight. Last night, he saved me from a gang. I believe that if I learn Kung Fu, I can win the boxing match." Mia just sighs and says, "You two have totally lost your minds." Anyway, from the next day on, Victor's training gets even more intense. Lee begins teaching him Kung Fu, just like Master Han used to. Not only that, he also helps Mia run the pizza shop in every possible way. Day by day, Lee trains Victor so well that he becomes fully prepared to fight. One day after training, Lee returns home and finds his mom asleep. Suddenly, something hits him emotionally. Frustrated, he heads over to Victor's place and starts furiously punching the boxing bag. Seeing all this, Victor asks, "What's going on with you? Are you stressed about something?" For the first time, Lee opens up to Victor and shares what's been haunting him. A few years ago, his older brother had won a fighting tournament in Beijing. On their way home with the trophy, the losing team ambushed them. In a revenge attack, those guys stabbed his brother. Even though Lee knew Kung Fu so well, he couldn't save his brother that day. That guilt haunted him so much, he gave up Kung Fu altogether. Poor Lee went through a lot that day. Anyway, the next day, Lee is sitting with Alan at the pizza shop doing some schoolwork. Just then, Mia shows up and tells him that there's a fair happening in New York that night. She invites Lee to meet her there. Lee gets really excited. As evening approaches, he heads to the fair with Alan to meet Mia. But when he arrives, he sees Mia hanging out with her old friend Carter and his crew. Seeing that crushes Lee. He decides not to meet Mia. Meanwhile, at the underground boxing ring, we see two fighters brawling. Victor is up next. Mia notices Lee isn't talking to her like he used to. She asks him, "What's wrong with you? Why are you ignoring me?" Lee bluntly replies, "I'm here for your dad. So, let's just focus on Victor." Hearing that, Mia senses something is wrong. After a bit of pushing, she finally gets Lee to open up about why he's upset. Lee says, "You were chatting with Carter a lot that night at the fair. So, why do you care about me now?" Mia tries hard to explain. "Look, it's not what you think. I met Carter just to tell him to stop bothering me, because now I have you, and I only want to be annoyed by you." Hearing that makes Lee really happy. But right then, Victor shows up. It's time for his fight. Victor walks confidently toward the ring. From the crowd, James sneers, "So you're planning to pay off my debt by fighting for money?" Victor calmly replies, "Just don't bet against me. You'll lose." But James has already bet a large amount against Victor. Finally, Victor steps into the ring and the fight begins. At first, Victor takes a brutal beating. Seeing this, during the break, Lee gives him some clever strategies. And once the break ends, Victor starts dominating his opponent. He lands punch after punch, slowly gaining control. Watching this, both Lee and Mia are thrilled. Eventually, Victor nearly knocks out his opponent. But just then James, worried about losing his bet, signals the other fighter to make an illegal move. Following that cue, the fighter brutally hits Victor with his knee, injuring him badly. The referee immediately calls it a foul, but the fighter ignores the warning and keeps attacking. He hits Victor again and again until Victor is completely knocked out. Seeing all this, Lee freezes, just like the day his brother was attacked. Mia rushes Victor to the hospital, but Lee is too paralyzed to move. He turns to stone. Later, at home, Lee's mother asks, "How do you know that man?" Lee replies, "I was training him." The doctor, his mom, gets furious and says, "I told you to stay away from fighting. You didn't listen, and now look at what's happened to your friend." Devastated, Lee breaks down mentally. He tears down every kung fu poster in his room. He silently vows that he'll never learn or teach kung fu again. And just like that, days turn into weeks, and nearly a month passes. During that time, Master Han tries to call Lee multiple times, but Lee never answers. Meanwhile, Victor slowly begins to recover. Then, one evening, Lee returns home feeling down. As he steps inside, he senses someone has broken in. Before he can figure out what's going on, someone ambushes him and attacks. After a brief scuffle, we see it's Master Han, who's come to check on Lee. Seeing Master Han in the house, Lee's mom gets furious. She asks, "Why are you here?" Master Han replies, "Lee hasn't been in touch for a month. I came to see how he's doing. And of course, once a guest shows up at your home, you can't exactly throw them out." That night, Master Han sits down with Lee and listens to everything that's been weighing on him. All the guilt he feels about how his friend ended up in the hospital because of him. Master tells him, "Don't worry. When life knocks us down, it always opens a new path for us to rise again." Then he adds, "Tomorrow, we'll go visit your friend." The next day, Master Han and Lee go to see Victor. Victor is genuinely happy to see them, but also shares some tough news. He says, "To afford my treatment, I might have to sell the shop. Maybe it's time for me to leave this city." Lee says, "You've worked so hard and built so much here, and now you're just gonna give it all up?" Victor replies, "I'm not giving up. I'm just changing direction." Hearing this, Master Han reassures him, "There's a Chinese saying, if your friend is in trouble, then that trouble becomes yours too. We'll figure something out, I promise." As they're leaving, Lee turns to Master Han and asks, "But how are we going to help Victor?" Master Han pauses, then tells him, "In a few days, there's going to be the 5-box tournament here. You're going to fight in it, and when you become the champion, we'll use that prize money to help Victor." With that, Master Han heads off to meet some old friends in America. He travels to California, where he enters an old empty house, the same one we saw earlier in the story, with Master Miyagi's photo. Seeing the photo, Master Han bows in respect. That's when Daniel walks in, the same guy we saw at the beginning of the movie. Just as Lee was Master Han's favorite student, Daniel was Master Miyagi's. Turns out, Master Han and Master Miyagi were very close friends, and now Master Han had come to ask Daniel for help. He wanted Daniel to teach Lee Miyagi to Kung Fu, a unique blend of Chinese and Japanese martial arts. Before passing away, Master Miyagi had only taught that special style to Daniel. At first, Daniel wasn't sure about traveling all the way to New York, but Master Han had faith. He believed Daniel would show up. Meanwhile, Lee was stressed out. unsure of how he'd fight, where he'd train, or what his next step would be. Hearing all this, Alan takes Lee up to the rooftop garden. She wants to help him set up a small space there where he can train. The next day, Lee brings Master Han to the rooftop garden to show him the new training area. Master Han loves it, and from that day forward, training officially begins. This time, though, training is way tougher than before. Lee is constantly exhausted, but Master Han doesn't go easy on him. While Lee is pushing himself to the limit, on the other side, Connor is also grinding hard at the gym, fully focused on winning this year's championship. 2 days pass like that, and on the third day finally, Master Daniel arrives in New York from California. Seeing him, Master Han is overjoyed. Daniel tells him, "I have deep respect for Master Miyagi, the wisdom he passed down to me. You won't find that anywhere else. So, whenever I get the chance, I want to pass that Miyagi-Do Kung Fu on to someone else. Because even after I'm gone, I want that style to live on." And just like that, with both masters on board, Lee's intense training begins. Lee practices every move, switching between the styles and techniques of both masters. Then one afternoon, while sitting and chatting with Master Han, Lee admits something. "I think I've really fallen for Mia, but ever since her dad got hurt, she hasn't even talked to me." Hearing this, Master Han comes up with an idea. Following his advice, Lee orders a pizza from Mia's shop, specifically for rooftop delivery. Since her dad isn't around at the shop, Mia herself brings the pizza to the rooftop garden. There, she finds Alan and Lee waiting for her. And finally, with some privacy, Lee gets the chance to apologize to Mia. Mia realizes that Lee isn't really to blame for what happened to her dad. And when she finds out that Lee is actually entering the 5-box championship just to help her dad, she warns him, "You don't need to fight to prove anything. That tournament is brutal, and you can't beat Connor. My dad will get better. We'll rebuild the pizza shop and fix everything. Don't hurt yourself." But Lee says, "Don't worry. I'm not doing this out of guilt. I'm doing this for me, and if I win, it'll help all of us." Because the 5-box champion gets a $50,000 prize. Meanwhile, the tournament has already begun. The rules are simple. 2 fighters go head-to-head. The first one to score 8 points, or knock out their opponent, wins. A body shot earns 1 point. A headshot earns 2. Today's first match is between Lee and a fighter named Buddha Steven. As the fight kicks off, Steven quickly scores a point. But then, using his speed and skill, Lee knocks him out and wins the first match. Then he goes back to training with both of his masters. In his next match, he easily defeats his opponent. Meanwhile, Connor also wins his match and secures a spot in the semifinals. Around that time, Victor recovers and returns to his shop. That's when he finds out Lee is fighting in the street championship for him. Victor gets really anxious, but as Lee keeps winning one match after another, making it all the way to the finals, Victor finally starts to relax. Now, it's time for the final match, Lee versus Connor, and Connor is not okay with this. After Lee finishes his semi-final fight, Connor sends a group of thugs to attack him, but this time, both of Lee's masters are with him. Together, they beat up the thugs and walk out like kings. Later, Lee's mom comes to talk to Master Han. Even though she was upset with him, Master Han calmly explains, "This isn't just another fight. This is a fight for Lee's honor. I promise I won't let anything happen to him." But both masters knew exactly how dangerous the final match could be. Connor wouldn't let Lee win easily, so they ramped up his training even more. During one session, Lee tries practicing the dragon kick, something his older brother had taught him. Master Daniel watches stunned. He tells Lee, "That kick, you could use that in the final." But Lee says, "I tried it once, back on the school field against Connor. He just kicked me to the ground like it was nothing." Hearing that, Master Han gets an idea. He takes Lee to a nearby subway station and starts drilling him on the dragon kick. Over and over again, Lee tries, but he keeps landing on his head. Still, the masters push him harder. By now though, Lee has become way stronger. He can even take on attacks from both masters at once. Meanwhile, Connor is training hard too, prepping for the final battle. And finally, the day arrives. The big showdown between Lee and Connor. Before the match, Lee's mom comes to see him. This time, she's no longer mad. She hugs him and says, "Give it your all. I'm so proud of you. Win or lose, I'll be praying for you." Then the masters dress him in his fighting gear and tie a special band around his head, the Miyagi band, blending Japanese and Chinese kung fu. The final match takes place on the rooftop of a huge building in New York City. As Lee steps onto the stage, the crowd cheers for him. Soon after, Connor enters. They both walk onto the stage. Lee bows respectfully, but Connor refuses to acknowledge it. Anyway, the match begins. Mia arrives with her dad to watch the fight. Right in the first minute, Connor lands a head kick and scores 2 points. The crowd gasps. Then, in quick succession, he lands 2 hard kicks to Lee's chest, knocking him back and scoring 2 more points. 4 total. The audience starts shouting encouragement. The masters start giving Lee tips from the sidelines. Lee regains focus and lands a punch to Connor's chest. 1 point. Connor, furious, charges in wildly. Lee uses this to his advantage and lands another clean punch, another point. Then, with precise timing, he kicks Connor in the head. 2 more points. That brings Lee to 4 points. Now, both fighters are tied at 4. The battle gets more intense, both throwing wild attacks. Eventually, they're tied again, this time at 6 points. Suddenly, Connor lands a brutal kick, knocking Lee out cold. For a moment, Lee can't even get up. But then, memories of Victor being attacked flash in his mind. Fueled by determination and revenge, he stands up again. Now, both fighters are at 7 points. It all comes down to the final move. Lee takes a deep breath and unleashes his brother's signature dragon kick. Boom, direct hit. That earns him the 8th and final point. Lee wins the match. The crowd erupts in cheers, but then Connor, still angry, tries to attack him from behind. This time, Lee throws him to the ground, but instead of hitting him, Lee offers his hand and helps Connor up. For the first time, Connor shows him respect and steps off the stage quietly. Everyone is overjoyed. The entire crowd is celebrating. Mia, overwhelmed with happiness, kisses Lee. After winning the championship, Lee receives a $50,000 prize. He uses the money to pay off all of Victor's debts and helps rebuild the pizza shop, making it even bigger than before. Lee is now officially a co-owner of the shop. He even treats Master Han to a special Chinese-style stuffed crust pizza. And not just that, he sends a frozen pizza all the way to California just for Master Daniel. And with that, the story comes to an end. So, how did you like it? Don't forget to let me know in the comments. That's it for today. Take care.